Welcome to 0 to 60 on a beautiful Thursday morning, May 23rd, 2024. I am your host, Matt McChesney. As always, Bree Macis is on the ones and twos, producing this bad boy from behind the scenes. We have a great show for you today. Coach Carl Reed is going to be on the show today, and look, Carl Reed is a bad man, all right? He is about as informed as you get about all things college football, from the recruiting landscape to, the coaching landscape to the NIL landscape to literally all the changes, everything going on, how awesome the season is going to be. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this conversation this morning, as you're not going to find too many people that are more informed than Coach Reed. So 247 Sports, CBS Sports, man does it all. So he's going to be our guest today. We'll have him on here shortly, so don't go anywhere. This is 0 to 60 on the Believe Network. You can follow everything, obviously, on YouTube and Twitch. Everybody, the likes or the subs and the super chats are open on Twitch and YouTube. And Nick and Logan Shoe Fund, we got to get this up. Let's go. Get your mind right. We need some nice shoes for the summer for the big guys. So. But all joking aside, we really appreciate all the support. Without y'all, there is no show. So we appreciate you guys for being a part of this on a daily basis, or whenever I feel like doing it. So you can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, myself at Sixer Academy on all those different platforms. We just hit 260,000 followers on TikTok, which is insane to me. When we started that page, like 2.5 years ago, I didn't see it getting to this point, but we're on the up, and there is no limit, and I'm really excited about that. Remember to follow Bree Macis at Bree Macis 303, and you can follow her in all Let's Talk Broncos, all that information. They're doing a great job with all that, so make sure you follow her. And then also Coach Reed Live is Carl Reed's Coach Reed's Twitter account, so make sure you give him a follow. He's all over social media as well. Okay, so let's take care of some business before we take care of some business. All right, Bet Online, they are our title sponsor, and without them, there is no show on the Believe Network here. So Bet Online is your number one source for all your NBA and NHL playoff games this season. Unfortunately, being a Nugget fan and an Avs fan, the playoffs are over in Denver, and it happened quick. There was a 48-hour turnaround where shit hit the fan, and it was bad. So that's too bad. But every stat, every matchup, and every live odd while the games are being played is on Bet Online. They do a great job of, if you're a live bettor, there's no better platform than Bet Online for you to go and, not only have that experience because it's so fun to bet live and just the adrenaline of it, but also they give you the best odds and the best news so you can make educated decisions, because if you're just betting from the hip, that's probably not a good thing. When the game's over, head over to the online casino as well and get in a game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with about 150 slot games. I was talking to Bree yesterday, but if you give me the opportunity to play some blackjack, then I'm going to probably look at the table and go, monkey, hit 21, fucking monkey. So, and Vegas, man, God damn it. I just want to go to Vegas now and play blackjack. So thanks a lot, Bet Online. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here, and they bring you 0 to 60 on Thursday, May 23rd. I'm Matt McChesney. This is 0 to 60. We're rolling. Coach Carl Reed is our guest. Coach, welcome to the show.
Here.
So, Coach, welcome, brother. We've obviously followed each other on social media for a long time, seen each other on different shows. I've popped on Coach JB's show, and you were his guest, and I was like, oh shit. And the conversation immediately sparked, and I'm really glad that you're on 0 to 60 today, and looking forward to future collaborations as well. So, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you? Is it nice in Tampa as it is here, man? Because I'm telling you, it's nice as hell in Denver today.
Well, I'm not in Tampa. I'm actually in Tennessee today. I just got that Tampa area code. I've had that for a long time, but the weather is good here. It's really heating up. You know how warm it gets down in the south, so I'm looking forward to a real hot summer.
Yeah, man. And look, the camp season is rolling. I'm going to talk about the camp that we're going to be doing here in Denver. Coach Mike Sanford and I are going to be putting on 5 camps here in June and July. We're going to be inviting kids from all over the country, so I'm going to definitely be picking your brain on who we should be sending invites to. I want to see if maybe you want to come out and get involved with that. We'll talk about that off the show, obviously, but the camp season is on deck, bro. And, you know, with 247, just the 15 years that I've been doing this at 6 Year Football Academy, it's an unbelievably great company that puts these kids on deck. So just talk about what you do there and what you're looking for at all the camps this summer all over the country for these kids.
Well, I'm a college football analyst at 24/7. I look at the transfer portal guys a lot. Obviously, I have tremendous relationships with high school guys because I used to be a high school coach. So I've been able to see a lot of things. For me personally, when I look at a football player, I'm looking for you to be the very best. I'm looking for guys that are really good football players. I think that one of the things that kids and parents don't understand as they go through this process is not political as a lot of them may think. Evaluation can be an opinion-based business depending on what you like. Some guys like length, some guys like more bendability, position, some position dexterity. But it just depends on what you want. If you and I are evaluating 10 offensive linemen, we may see it 2 completely different ways. We may have a different take on it, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the guy that's watching you and what he believes your ability level is.
Now, I did a camp out here last week, the U.S. Army All-American Bowl camp. Coach Funk and his son and Coach Funk, and a bunch of other guys were involved. I guess I just don't remember doing this as a kid, or maybe I'm just blessed to always have like my foot on the gas. And it's a lot my father, but also I always would just be a full speed guy, right? I'm watching these kids at camp, and I always forget when I go to camp because I'm here at 6 Year all the time where everyone's expected to finish. And like the old Mike Tomlin's saying, the standard's the standard. Like, we chase the ball here, we chase the ball on offense. It's just the way I think. I don't really anticipate kids loafing. Go to this camp, bro, and every other kid is like stopping before the cone and they don't finish. And it's like a big handshake session in the back and everybody's friends. I know we're old heads, but do you really think the generations have changed that much from a competitive standpoint? Because I don't remember that when I was growing up.
Well, you're not going to remember from when you were growing up because it wasn't allowed. You weren't allowed to. You had to do what you were told. I actually played in high school with a guy that played at Colorado. His name is Cortland Johnson. He played running back up there.
Oh, man, I love CJ. Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, we were high school teammates, and his brother was one of our coaches, and his older brother ended up also being a very big-time high school coach in the area, and he's a legendary athletic director. And just from a very young age, him and the other coaches, they just didn't allow us to do anything other than what you were told. It was a time where your parents made sure you did whatever the coach said, and what the coach said is law. We live in a very different time now. Coaches, are really at risk. Guys get sued. Parents go to the school board. The principal's never going to side with the coach. So it can become really difficult to coach a really talented player because if you push him too hard, he may change schools, and, you could also get yourself fired. So I do understand why some coaches don't. But when you go to these camps, you always have to remember that these guys are coached by a lot of different people that do things a lot differently, than the way you might do them.
Very good point there. Very good point. All right, and you brought this up. You might get sued. All right. Coach Carl Reed joining us here from 247 CBS Sports. No one more knowledgeable about the college football game than this man. Coach, Jalen Rashada transfers to Arizona State, playing for Coach Dillingham. I like Kenny. I think he's a good coach. I wonder how he feels about this. I was actually texting with him yesterday. I'm eager to try and get him on the show, and I'm going to ask him. Jalen Rashada's suing Billy Napier for $14 million. The precedent that this could set, where a handshake deal could potentially get you paid if you sue a man. How do you feel about this? I'm so torn on it. I'm of course I want the player to get what they deserve, but I don't believe he got $14 million out of high school. That's insane. And then where's the contract? Like I'm really eager to try and figure this out because it looks bad from both sides.
We talked about this on my show yesterday. Yeah. So apparently there is a contract that was agreed to between him and the past Florida Gator Collective, which is now out of business, so to speak. So there was a contractual arrangement. Does Billy Napier have liability in that is the question that's going to be asked. I think that I said this earlier, the NCAA has failed head coaches from a standpoint that the head coach is not equipped, nor should they be involved in negotiations for money because that's not their wheelhouse. That's not their cup of tea. They have agents that handle their business. They have no idea how to negotiate money with players. They're football coaches, they're X and O guys, they're culture builders, they're leaders of men, but they're not agents, they're not lawyers, they're not financial advisors. They're way out of their depth when they do that. If Jaden Rashada was promised money, then if he did certain things and he did those things, then he does deserve to get the money that he was promised. That's part of the situation. And if you mistakenly or intentionally, whatever your intentions were, really are irrelevant. If you promised them that money and didn't deliver on it, you should expect a negative response in return.
Yeah, and look, if there's a contract, and I'm gonna take your word as law here, and that's out there, then yeah, Florida and the collective, and it looks like Coach Napier, it looks like their ass is on the line for this. So this is going to be pretty interesting. Do you think it could potentially set a precedent where, it's sue happy? Like,
yeah, well, think about it from this standpoint. This case is going to become very important because it comes down to if the head coach can be sued for his money, then it's definitely going to change a lot of the conversations those guys are having with players and the way they go about doing business. The head coach in the past has always been protected by the university or by the use of the collective. But if you got guys that have the ability not to sue the head coach, it's definitely going to change the way they do business for sure.
Man, the precedent that could be set by, a player potentially suing the head coach for his money, the way you said that, like it just ran through my body. Ugh, like somebody could just take your money based on things like this. But do you think that this is going to get the coaches more involved with the collectives? Because I know they don't want to be, but you almost have to be at this point if you could potentially lose, your hard-earned bread that you work for because of a mistake made by people that you're not necessarily supposed to be involved with.
Well, no, you got to go the other way. Billy Napier is in this because he was involved in the conversations.
So he's way too involved.
Yeah, you want to completely, if you're a head coach, you want to completely separate yourself. You want to refer the family to whoever they need to talk to that runs the collective. In addition to that, you need to structure your front office in a way that's very similar to the National Football League. Those are conversations for your general manager and your director of player personnel, maybe your chief of staff, and them taking you to deal with the collective, and the head coach should be out of it at that point.
Do we need to eliminate the NCAA completely here in order to act like a real business to figure all this? Is there a way that can the NCAA and everybody work together?
You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, Matt. If you get rid of the NCAA, then you go completely lawless across the board, and it can seem lawless now, but you have no idea how bad it would be, if you had no governance. So I don't think that you can run it without complete governance, and they talk about super conferences and things like that. There's only a handful of schools that can make that work. So you still got to think about the other, 200 schools in the other sports and how that's going to affect, the body at large.
That's a very good point as well. Carl Reed, Coach Carl Reed, joining us here on 0 to 60 on the Believe Network. We're rolling here on Thursday morning. Lots to talk about. We're going to jump into the Colorado Buffaloes now, and Coach Prime and everything going on in Boulder. Obviously, I'm a proud alum, and Coach Reed is very close with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders up there in Boulder. Factor Foods brings us our college football talk every day here on 0 to 60. So make sure you check them out. Use our promo code. All right. It's Factor SE48328. They do a really good job of keeping the Dungeon family fed, and on Twitch and on YouTube. Check them out. So thanks to Factor for all that they do. Remember to like and subscribe on Twitch and YouTube. Get those likes up. A lot of eyes on the show this morning, and we're rolling. Coach, the first year was a smashing success, in my opinion. Obviously, on the field, they only went 4-8, lost 6 games by 1 score. But before Coach Prime got to Boulder, it was football purgatory for not as long as some people think, but it was pretty bad when he got there, to say the least. Coming off of a 1-11 season and just the worst college football team I've ever seen with my own eyes. Just talk about, what you've seen after the first year, and then we'll talk about rolling into the Big 12 and everything else. But I personally think that Coach Prime is revolutionizing the game here as a college football head coach.
Well, every move he's made so far has improved their football team. I mean, you saw it for yourself. I saw it as well. The talent level was really low, and some changes had to be made, and I think that anytime you do things differently, Colorado has decided to do it differently when they brought in Coach Prime. Coach Prime has decided to build his roster differently than what people are accustomed to. You're going to get a lot of critics. It comes with it, but the program is definitely moving in the right direction.
So Coach Prime brings in a ton of great ex-players. Warren Sapp at the top of that list, amongst so many others. Corey Fuller is on that staff. I personally think that it's, there's some great players that it was just so easy for them. It's hard for them to really coach. But it seems like Coach Prime and Coach Sapp and the guys up there can really relate to the kids. What does Coach Prime do, being a 60-year-old old head, and Coach Sapp being an old dude? How can they relate to this younger generation the way that they do? Because, man, these kids gravitate to those dudes up in Boulder.
Well, their relatability is different because they're superstars. Number one, they're Hall of Famers. So everybody who played the game, grew up looking up to them. So they have a different level of connectivity. They also both have kids in that age range, so they can kind of stay up to date on the cool, hip stuff. But Warren Sapp can really coach defensive linemen, and he's been a guy that is for years has been sought out by defensive linemen all across the league and all across college, for lessons and development, and he can really coach that position at a high level. Coach Prime can also coach at a high level, and people look at it. And I'm going to tell you what, he's actually an excellent special teams coach as well, which is something that I've noticed even going back to Jackson State, having been to practice, having been around. I tell them all the time, people talk about transfer portal and NIL. We need to do a show so he can just really educate people and show people his football acumen, because he does have a very, very high level of football acumen, but people don't like talking about that. They like talking about the other stuff.
So you brought up they're both fathers, obviously. Coach Prime is the father of Shiloh and Shedeur, obviously. Shedeur Sanders, I think, has the potential to be the best player at his position in the country next year. I mean, he puts in the work. He's a smart kid. Of course, he's got the other side as well. He's a Sanders. He's definitely figured out how to take advantage of the culture, and he's a hip hop star, and I mean, this kid does everything. And I personally think it's pretty awesome to be in that position and then actually able to handle all of it as well. I personally think he's not distracted. I think that the fact that he can handle all of it and he's just cool as the other side of the pillow tells me a lot actually about his potential to be able to handle it at the next level. Do you see that kind of greatness in Shedeur Sanders? I mean, I'm talking, definitely in the Heisman conversation next year if the rest of the team can kind of match the way he plays.
If you protect for him, he's gonna shatter, major records if he can get blocked. So
yep.
The offensive line is much improved. A lot of new pieces there. That was the key to it. I mean, the way he played under the kind of pressure he was under all last season. I mean, I think that you got to look at that and let that be your guide and your judge. A lot of people they just kind of make too much of, the Sanders thing in terms of Dion being his dad. Shador is a great football player in his own right. Shiloh's a good football player in his own right. It's a lot of dudes that played in the league that sons aren't good football players,
Yep.
that didn't go to Division One, that didn't go to the National Football League. It's a ton of dudes in the NBA whose sons aren't good basketball players. So people will say, it was just like I had this conversation the other day when people would talk about Arch Manning last year. Oh, he's only rated this high because his last name is Manning. I mean, it's a lot of dudes that played quarterback in the league that sons and nephews or whoever aren't good quarterbacks. So to dumb it down to his last name, I think is disrespectful. Great football players, in the Sanders household. And you would expect that from kids who grew up living with their dad and being trained on how to do this. He's been coaching all of them since they were little kids. So they got a high level of football education from him.
Yeah, all ball all day at Coach Prime's house, man. I love it. It's very I take a lot of the way that he raises his boys and pushes them and treated them like men as young adolescents coming up. If you want to play, you got to do it a certain way. It's the same way I do it with my boys. My son's going to be a freshman next year in high school, and I'm just a proud dad moment. We had like mini camp the other day, right? His first mini camp with all the guys. So Monday he's running with the C team. He's a freshman. All the freshmen are together. So on Tuesday we get back out and everybody's splitting up after individual drills, and we're all running over to C team. And I'm logging behind because I'm old and fat. And all of a sudden he runs right by me the other way. And I'm like, where the hell are you going, man? And he goes, oh, coach told me to go to the varsity. And I'm like, here we go. And walks over, and they immediately put him at left guard with the ones. It was second practice. And I'm just sitting there kind of blown away. But I had a moment of clarity there. Like, this is, on top of what I do every day with all these kids and all these great players we've had through the program, now it's my son. And it really was a moment of realization and clarity for me. It really hit me hard on just, if you invest in your children and you really listen to them when they say, he looked at me when he was 11 years old, coach, and said, Dad, can I get a full ride scholarship? You think I could go to the NFL? And I was like, buddy, if you work hard enough and you follow the lead of some of these guys that you see every day because he grew up in it, you can get whatever you want. Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but and then for it to pay off like that just in one day and get in the car and him to just look at me and have tears in his eyes and be so proud. I can only imagine how Coach Prime feels about his kids when he gets to see them succeed like that. It's such a special feeling. I always talk about the way Coach Prime makes you feel he's a superstar. Yeah, but there's some guys that are just smug superstars. Coach Prime, his gift is how he makes you feel about you when he's around. Like, everybody's special, and he gives you his power in that 30-second, 45-second, 1 minute interaction that you get with him, right? And it's something that I think it's really changed the culture and the narrative in Boulder. I think it rubs off on people in a very positive way. And it's done it with his sons, with Shiloh and Shador. They're not just great players, they're leaders in that community. Do you think that the University of Colorado's football team, and then with Travis Hunter also, because he's Travis Hunter / Sanders, those three, can the rest of the team kind of adopt that mindset that these three have and run with it? Because I don't think last year's group could keep up.
Well, I think that it's hard across any team, for an entire group of guys to have the same mindset as the top 3 to 5 players have. And I that's regardless of what program. You just need guys committed to doing their job and being great at their role, whatever their role is. They don't have to be Shador or Shiloh or Travis Hunter. You got to just be the best at what you do. If you're playing right guard, you got to block the 3-tech on inside zone. You got to be able to double to the mic if you're running gap scheme. You want to be great at what you do and clock in and clock out. Like, Matt, when you talk about your son and you say, well, it paid off in one day, it didn't pay off in one day. from the time he was 11, you had him in the lab training on offensive line drill. So he's been preparing for that moment his whole life. And so that's the advantage that you have when you're coaching your sons. You know, everybody doesn't live in the house with their kids, but for the guys that do, that are pouring into them, they do have a decided advantage. Your son has an advantage because you train offensive linemen, you played in the league, you played at Colorado. So his advantage is that he gets to be trained by you and developed by you. So when he becomes a big time recruit and goes to college and goes to the league, people will say, well, it's just because his dad played at Colorado. You know, that doesn't really have anything to do with it. Now, he had an advantage because his dad was able to show him what to do. And so it's like guys that are math teachers, sometimes they're able to make sure their kids pass math class. You know, it's all in all in whatever your passion is. And if the kid wants it and you have the know-how and the ability to put them in position to be with the right people, you know, something special can really happen.
Amen to that. Hey, so tell me if this is a crazy comment. At the Heisman Trophy presentation, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter will be competing for the trophy with 3 other guys. Is that a crazy comment?
No, it's not crazy. It's very possible, you know, and as long as they win games and Travis stays healthy and plays an entire season, that could very well happen.
And have you ever seen anybody like Travis Hunter before? Like, look, I practice both ways, bro. I never played both ways in a game, but I take a lot of pride in the fact that I played both positions, started games on offense and defense. That's pretty cool, but I never did it in a game. What I'm watching him do is just, it's insane. It's insane. And the level he does it at is insane. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. I think he might be the best, just pure football player I think I've ever seen.
As special as Travis Hunter is, and I don't want to take anything away from him and how well he's played and what he's accomplished, he's not the most important person in that dynamic. The most important person is Prime, having the vision and the ability to allow him to do it. There's other kids in the last 20 to 30 years who could have played on both sides of the ball, but the head coach would not allow them to do that. So Prime has allowed him to be who he is from day one, and that's why he's able to do it, because there's a lot of coaches who just would not have allowed him to be used in that capacity. So that's a visionary approach. And when you're a visionary, you look at things different. And so it helped that he ended up playing for a guy who has done that, you know, himself as a ball player.
And do you think it's going to open up the availability for more guys to go down this road, or is Travis just special? Because I know a lot of guys want to play both ways, but not everybody can.
It depends on who the coach is. What is the coach going to allow you to do? There's a lot of coaches that will criticize Coach Prime, and they wouldn't allow their kids to do that, you know. So it's all on the mindset of the coach you have, and does he have the flexibility to allow you to do that?
All right, so I want to dive into the transfer portal here and get your thoughts on the roster turnover and the way that the University of Colorado revolutionized that too, and how they, you know, they've been at the forefront since Coach Prime walked in and he had the famous Louis speech. I was there that day, and it was a moment where you were like, oh, wow, this is changing rapidly in front of us. So what's your thoughts on how they've done things in Boulder? And I'm used to it. I got cut 14 times in 6 years and had to change positions, right? Like, I'm used to cutthroat football. I know what this is. My old position coach that's now in the UFL, I was actually talking to him this morning, the great Chris Wilson, who played at Oklahoma, has been a coach forever, won a Super Bowl at the Eagles.
Yeah, I know Chris.
Yeah, Chris is awesome. So he's like a dad to me. He's my coach for 5 years in college. He always used to say in college, I got to do a really good job recruiting because I got to keep your ass around. If you sign here, you know, you're going to be a free school guy and you're just going to be sitting in the back of the room. I can't wait to get to the NFL where I can just cut you motherfuckers. And now they can just tell you to go to the transfer portal if that's the road that they think you're going down. So I wanted to get your thoughts on just everything that's transpired in the last year and a half moving into year 2.
The roster changes had to be made. And even though it makes some people uncomfortable, you know, the business of football is what it is. The biggest difference in Coach Prime's program and everybody else is he allows the cameras to be there every day, and so they document everything so you
Facts.
can see it. If you put the camera in some of these other programs, you probably be disgusted as well. It would bother you. It would make you really uncomfortable. And most coaches don't allow cameras around for that reason. They don't want to be bothered by having to deal with the public perception. Coach Prime is okay with that. But we are in a win now business. Don't ever get that mistaken. You must win when you're a coach. So if you identify that there are players on your team that are not good enough for you to win, unfortunately for kids, there are going to be changes made.
So I personally think that they are men. You know, when you hit 18, I know that they're still kids, but you're a man, and now you're being treated as such. So, you know, get in where you fit in. Usually the cream rises to the top. Coach Dabo Swinney said that, you know, and I really had to sit back and kind of think about what Coach Swinney said. But when he came out and said that a lot of guys in the transfer portal aren't good enough to play at Clemson, a lot of that's just Dabo, but a lot of it is true. I had Coach Mike Sanford on yesterday and talked to him about this, and he said that, you know, there's two different areas. The open transfer portal in December, there's actually a lot of talent, and that's where a lot of coaches want to be involved. The spring transfer window, there's not. That's where there's a lot of scabs and cast-offs and guys who don't go to class and guys who get in trouble and can't stop smoking dope and like those guys. Do you agree with that sentiment there on the two differences in the windows?
That's a really good assessment of the two windows. I wouldn't agree with Dabo on there's nobody in there good enough to play at Clemson. You know, now they may have some issues that he's not willing to deal with. For guys that have dealt with Dabo in recruiting before that know him, he's super high on some characters and certain qualities that he expects. But I said this on my show last week. I think people are lucky that Dabo's not going in the portal, because if Dabo decided that he wanted to recruit in the portal, he would become very problematic for people because he's a great recruiter. He's great with families. He's great in front of kids, and he knows how to sell his vision really well. So the fact that he's not going into the portal, that's good for everybody else. It may not be great for his program, but it's great for everybody else's because he'd be a real problem.
So you think that if Dabo Swinney did commit to the transfer portal, that he would just be as successful as he is in high school recruiting?
Oh, absolutely. He'd be a guy that, you know, would cause many problems. I mean, you're talking about a guy that won 2 national championships, so you got to put some respect on his name.
Hell yeah. And I always am confused on the lack of respect. I mean, I heard a stat the other day. I was listening to Joe Klatt, who I played with in college, on his show, and he said that from, I think, 2013 or something to 2022, they were 63-1 at home. I mean, good Lord, that's insane. Why does he get such a bad rap? Like, why is there such a negative narrative? Is that because he's so damn good?
Well, number one, people hate winners. They number two, they hate people that do things the way that they want to do them. And he said some things that probably didn't go over well with public. You can get killed because of public perception, but a lot of times when you ask guys questions and they get, you know, 10 seconds to formulate an answer for your questions, sometimes, you know, they would take some of those things back if they could, and other things they really believe in. But a guy can believe in whatever he wants to believe in. That doesn't have an impact on how good of a football coach he is. You know, you can believe the world is flat, the world is round, whatever your thing is, but that guy can coach football at a high level.
Amen to that. Coach Carl Reed joining us here from 247 Sports, CBS Sports. Make sure you check out his show as well. It's one of the best in the business. I got to come on your show, Coach, and talk it up as well. Let's continue the college football talk here before we get you out of here on this beautiful Thursday. Back to CU. All right, moving back to the Big 12. I played in the old Big 12 North. You know, I loved that conference back in the day. I didn't foresee all these things happening, you know, when Colorado, Nebraska, you know, started the movement, and then the craziness that has become conference realignment and the playoff and everything that college football is now. With CU going to the Big 12, You think that helps or hurts the team? And then, assuming Coach Prime stays at Colorado the way he said he's going to, and I'm praying to God that he does. I think that now that he's just embedded in there's Florida and he's embedded in Texas now, that is a problem for people that want to recruit against him. So just the next year, how good do you think CU could be? And then in the future, get your thoughts on both.
They're definitely going to be a team that's going to be competing in the Big 12. I think the Big 12 was a better move for Colorado having Coach Prime at the helm because it puts him in competition with two of the greatest states of talent in high school football, and that's Texas and Florida. He's from Florida. He's lived in Texas for years, a former Dallas Cowboy, and he coached youth and high school football there. So the recruiting ties. It's just the ability to recruit depending on your relationships, getting those guys into the fold. I think the Big 12 is going to be a very good situation for the Buffaloes and Coach Prime.
And then next year, primarily, all right, they got a dog of a schedule, and I love it. North Dakota State, I don't know who scheduled that one, but hold on to your ass because you better take them seriously. At Nebraska, the first night game ever in that series. I know they've ended at night before, but never started at 7 o'clock. So that's going to be insane, and I cannot wait for that. The last time CU went to Lincoln was, Montez to Laviska Shenault in the back corner to win with like a minute left. That was insanity. That series, I hope they can figure out a way to play it every year. And then, then they come back to Colorado and have to go to Fort Collins and go to CSU, and we know what happened last year in that game. That was insane. And then they get back into the Big 12 schedule in Baylor, and then Kansas State, finishing the year with Oklahoma State, and then, of course, the Utah Utes are there waiting for them as well. They get a trip to UCF right after they host Baylor to open it all up. Texas Tech, Kansas. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule, and this is a nice blend between the Pac-12 and the old Big 12, old Big 8. It's taking me back a little bit. I'm thinking maybe 8-4, 9-3. Am I crazy to think that Colorado could be that kind of football team next year?
You're not crazy. A lot of good teams on the schedule, when you name some of those programs and some of the coaches that have been there. But I'm going to tell you what, in major college football, there's just no easy road. I don't care what league you're in, where you're at. There's going to be great coaches. There are going to be great programs. And winning is hard. People don't understand how hard it is to win. I won a state championship as a high school coach. I feel like I could have won 4. We won 1. It's just really tough, man. Things can go a lot of different ways when you're trying to win, when you're trying to get everybody moving in the same direction, getting everybody moving the same way, from staff to coaches to personnel people, to be vertically integrated as a program throughout your entire academic institution. It's just not easy. It takes time. You got to build culture, but winning is really, really hard. It's why so few people can do it. It's why only a handful of guys are having success, and the bottom half of the league is getting fired year after year. So I think Colorado is well positioned in their league. I think that they have the talent led by the quarterback, and it's going to be an exciting fall.
Man, I cannot wait. That gives me goosebumps and gets me damn excited about this upcoming season. Coach, we'll get you out of here after the next couple of questions, but I wanted to kind of go down, the road here of, obviously you've seen what's going on in the running back room here in Boulder. Last question about the Buffs. A lot of guys left. Dylan Edwards left. McCass left. A lot of guys, they lost the Amos kid that came in and already left for Ole Miss. They did put Charlie Offerdahl on scholarship, and I know Charlie, that he's a hell of a football player. I don't know if he's an every down back, but he's a hell of a player. What do you think's going on in the running back room in Boulder, man? Is it just the natural progression and just the way it's going, or is there something deeper going on?
I don't know the individual details of every kid's situation. What I do know in the business of football, if you lose one kid, get another. If one moves on, you get another. It's the next man up mentality. You got to wish all those kids the best in what their situations are, because we really do care about kids at our core. It's one of the first things. But, one clown doesn't stop the circus. One man doesn't stop the show. And you have to keep moving forward.
All right. like a true coach. Spoken like a true coach. All right, so Coach, moving into now the broad spectrum here for college football as a whole, 12-team playoff, and then they're going to go to 14. Number one, I'm assuming you like that. It's more football. And then number two, I mean, is it just going to be the same, the same story with the same great programs over and over again? Or do you really think this is going to open it up for more teams to be competitive for the national title?
It's going to be the same teams over and over again because there's only a small group of programs that are committed to winning national titles. And those programs are going to always be there. There are going to be, because you opened it up some teams who sneak into the playoffs, but unless they are committed to winning national championships, they're not going to be able to compete. And that's in the way they pay their coaches, the way they travel, the way they feed their guys, the resources that they give them, mental health resources, physical resources, the best doctors, the best training tables. There's only a handful of programs that are committed at that level. And if you look across sports, I don't care whether it's professional sports, college sports, high school sports in the town that you're from, the same teams are always there when it's championship time. And there's a reason for that.
Amen to that. So next year, moving into this, you get Georgia and you got Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC, and I'm so excited to see how that's going to go. You got a lot of movement all over the country. Oregon and Washington, UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. Is the Pac-12 going to be able to stay alive and elevate the Mountain West? We'll see how that works. The ACC and Stanford and Cal and their travel. What do you think is one of the best storylines going into next year? Is it just how dominant the SEC could be and the Big Ten and the SEC kind of setting themselves apart? Or do you think one of these dark horse teams like a Colorado or a Utah or, somebody from the second level, could they potentially, step in and shock some people next year?
One of the best storylines in college football, I think, is did the Big Ten make the moves to close the gap with the SEC? We know that Michigan did, and Michigan ran a great program, but the Big Ten has long wanted to be respected on the same level as the SEC. So you want to see if adding Oregon, if adding USC, if adding UCLA in Washington gives them the cachet to be able to say that they're on the same playing field as the SEC.
And do you think they are? You think the Big Ten and the SEC are about equal right now? I mean, obviously Michigan, what they did last year was pretty special.
Well, they're not equal because the SEC has dominated college football at every turn. National championships won, the most players drafted year after year. But I think that's deeper than just the conference. Football in the South is a completely different way of life. In the South, you have spring practice in high school. You pay your coaches a lot more money. They just are more committed in that part of the country to being great at football from the youth level up through high school. And the SEC is the benefactor of that because their local kids, come up in those kind of systems. I think for the Big Ten and other conferences across the country to get on the SEC's level, if that's really their goal, the president of the schools in the Big Ten should be going to the states in Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan, the Midwest, Indiana, places like Missouri, and you should be going to your local high school state associations and trying to get them to allow spring football.
Oh, God. Yes.
And update some of the antiquated rules that they have at the high school level that prevents kids from getting better. So that's what the advantage that the SEC has. Those kids are getting to play a lot of football. They're getting developed with their coaches. It's just a different world entirely.
Well, I'm going to definitely reach out to you about this and see if you can kind of guide me in the right direction to see if I can start the wave here to allow spring football padded in the state of Colorado. It's pretty hobby town around here, but you never know. There is a Mile High Prep team that's like a bunch of different kids from around the state. You remember Coach Bob Stitt?
Yeah, Bob Stitt, the legendary.
Yeah, so just great coach, and he's now the OC over at Valor Christian here in Denver, where Christian McCaffrey played and a bunch of other great players.
They're going to be scoring a lot of points over there at Valor.
Oh, yeah,
got old Bob Stitt over there.
So Stitt is now their OC and their quarterback coach, and he is running the Mile High Prep team. I didn't even know what was going on, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're playing teams that are like flying in to come play here. And I don't know how competitive it is, but it looks like the kids are getting better, which is the whole point. So if they'll allow that, maybe they would allow the entire state to actually get to work in the spring, because I think it's such an underrated aspect of improving that spring window. You can get a lot better and get a lot of reps. And it's just, it has, again, like you said, it has to be important though. And in Hobbytown, Colorado here, you know, the importance level, there's a lot of people that care. There's just not a lot of direction in the, you know, let's go get it, because so many feelings are involved. It's still like orange slices a lot in Denver and in this area. Like,
it's like that.
Parents kind of drop their kids off to have something to do rather than understanding what football is.
It's like that in a lot of areas. You know, one of the advantages that they have in the South is you got to think they miss less on recruits because they're able to watch them practice during the spring evaluation period. So it's a lot of less misses. They're able to watch them practice and move. They're able to see how they respond to coaching. So their evaluation process gets to be a little more thorough than guys who don't have that opportunity. It's why they get earlier offers. It's why that they get recruited in a much more serious way, because you can be a little more exact on the information that you're getting.
All right, last question, and then this one just popped in the old dude's head, and I got to ask, and it's going to be a tough one because I know you and Coach Prime are boys. I got Brett Cooladay walking in right now. He's the IMG's left guard. He's got 30 offers from Alabama and LSU, Texas, Oklahoma, just all over the board. He's from Valor High School, then went to IMG. He's only going to be a junior. He's a freak. Great player. He's been with me since 7th grade. Colorado still hasn't offered him. And it kind of hurts my feelings a little bit, but that's not my job to push. I can only present, right? How can Gage Ginther from Fort Collins went to Tennessee last year. Trey Zunes, starting left tackle at A&M, is going to be a draft pick next year from Fort Collins. Reese Russell, Matt Russell's son, multiple SEC offers going into his sophomore year. You know, in my opinion, if you have the opportunity to go to the SEC and you're a Colorado offensive lineman, it's pretty hard to turn that down. So, you know, Cole Taylor from Grand Junction went to LSU for 3 years, and now he then transferred to West Virginia, was second team All Big 12 last year. How can Coach Prime keep guys like that in Colorado if the SEC is beating their door down? How do you manage that? How does Colorado compete with those schools to keep Colorado kids here? Because those guys should be blocking for Shador, not for the SEC schools.
So Matt, I'm gonna say something here, all right, that I feel very strong, that I feel very strongly about. All over the country, former players at colleges, I don't care what college it is, Colorado, Illinois, Florida State, every dude that played at a school feels like the school that he played at should recruit the guys that they have some type of association with. And it turns into a very emotional, feelings-based situation, right? One of my best friends, my high school teammate, I'm not going to say his name here, but he believes that people that know me will be able to put it together. He believes that every kid he coached that's good, that Illinois should recruit him. That's how he feels. Guys that I know that played at the University of Tennessee, they feel like every kid that they coach. I will tell you this: in-state recruiting has no effect on winning. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter where you're from. The best player at Georgia this year was Brock Bowers. He's from California. It has absolutely. Justin Fields is from Georgia. He went to Ohio State and broke records. Didn't do much when he was at the University of Georgia. So a lot of times we talk about local recruiting and in-state recruiting. Everything is about fit. And sometimes as a coach, and Eli Drinkwitz and I have had this conversation a lot because I'm from St. Louis, and you talking about recruiting kids from St. Louis to Missouri. When you take a local kid and he doesn't play, it ends up becoming an issue that is sometimes not worth you dealing with, and you end up hurting alums' feelings. So what I would say to any player that had a bunch of offers and you can go anywhere you want, if you don't have an offer from the local school, it's okay. Go to the SEC, go to the Big Ten, go to whoever wants you. Be very happy for the opportunity that you received and play great football.
And folks, that is why Coach Prime calls him the gospel. I mean, brother, what a show. Coach Carl Reed. Remember, you can follow him at 247 Sports, CBS Sports. At Coach Reed Live is his Twitter handle. He's all over social media. Coach, I can't wait to come on your show, man. That was incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the show and spitting absolute fire on 0 to 60 today. Enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy a great Memorial Day weekend. Go eat some barbecue and then stay out of the sun. Enjoy the shade. And we'll talk soon, my friend. Are you going to be coming out to Boulder at all this year?
Yeah, I'll be out there at some point this summer. I'll be sure to let you know, man. I'll come by your place, man, and see you put the lineman through it.
Yeah, and I had to ask you one more question as a coach. I forgot. You've seen the body bags, right? Bree, will you run the Matt Rule 30-second one real quick? I wanted to get Coach's opinion on this.
Matt Rule over at Nebraska, man. I just want to take a moment to thank you for putting us on this 6-0 body bag, man. It's been an unbelievable tool for us. You know, I get a lot of feedback, a lot of questions from coaches sometimes about, you know, why we like it so much. And I think besides the safety of it, besides the width and girth of it, you know, I think the thing that I like, especially as a former defensive line coach, is, you know, there's two parts to playing defensive line and using your hands, as you know. Number one is building the strike and the punch to knock a 300-pounder back. And so obviously many times we'll use, like we use here, we'll use the sleds, but you don't have to time your punch on a sled. And so it's always been this juxtaposition of, hey, I'm going to work on the sled, I'm going to strike, so that I'm striking something with surface area and girth and some physicality to it. But at the same time, I want that shield to move. I want that bag to move, so I'm going to use a shield.
Matt Rule might have just made you $1 million, brother. I mean, he's...
Hey, man, I'll take it. But what do you think? Like, Coach Rule absolutely loves it. They bought 5 of them. I'll tell you a funny story. Just the football rivalry, right? So I invented this thing, like, I just been in the works for 2 years. We got our first one last August. And then, like, middle of the football season, we got our first shipment. And we had them custom made for Nebraska. So Coach Rule, I know Coach Knight in there and whatnot, everybody. And Coach Rule calls me and he goes, hey, I really like your body bags. And I was like, thanks, Coach. And he goes, did Coach Prime in Colorado buy them yet? And I'm like, no, I'm going up there tomorrow to talk to him. He goes, so we could be first? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, we'll take 5. And I was like, oh, shit, here we go. So they love them. I wanted to get your opinion on it as a coach.
Number one, I think it's a great tool to use. You know, it's I'm really tight with Charles Bentley, another guy that's the big-time offensive line trainer.
I love his
equipment. I think that what you built is much better than the traditional bag that people use, and it allows you to really work on hand placement, to really work on how you're going to target hat and hand placement, and how you're going to be able to keep leverage, move your feet in the different parts of the block, and both offensively and getting off blocks for defensive linemen and hand placement as well, attacking the V of the neck, some of that stuff. So I think this is a tremendous tool. I think every high school program, I think every college program should have something like this. And I wish you the best, man, as you continue to promote this. And I'm excited to get out there and see it for myself.
I can't wait. I'm going to get you all the information on the camps we're going to be doing out here this summer. Coach Mike Sanford and I are going to be doing the Savage and Sanford College Football Skills Development Camp, and it's going to be heavy on recruiting. We're going to have a lot of, each day we're going to end it with a little seminar for the coaches and the players and talk a lot of ball. So I'd love to try and get you out here this summer for maybe one of those and definitely for a game, but I'll be in touch, my friend, and I really appreciate you coming on today and being a part of this. So have yourself a great weekend, Coach.
All right, my brother. Enjoy your weekend.
Later, brother. Man, what a show. All right, 0 to 60 is a wrap, man. What a fucking day. So huge thanks to Coach Reed for coming on the show. I mean, I don't know if you find a more knowledgeable man than him on all this shit that's going on in college football. Check everything out on Twitch and on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe, please. If you're watching, like and subscribe. Don't be smug. Remember, Nikki and Logan's Shoe Fund is open. All right, that's subs and super chats on Twitch and and YouTube. So any contributions there, we would much appreciate. Huge thanks to Coach Reed for his opinion on the body bag. Go to 60equipment.com, check those out. And I'll give it right now just to be nice. If you use the promo code McChesney, you can get 2 for 1 and then get yourself 2 bags for the price of 1. So that's a pretty good deal. So we roll. Thursday's over. Go enjoy yourself. Try not to be too hard on yourself. That's my job. Like always, go Buffs. Have yourself a good day. Oh, and by the way, totally forgot. Shocking. Coach Shiv, Darren Shiverini will be on the show next Tuesday. I know that CJ, I think, asked in the comments several times if he was going to be on. He'll be on next Tuesday, so that's pretty kick-ass. And there you go. And what? Did Darren Shiv respond to your text? Yeah, CJ. Fuck, man. You ask, I deliver. That's the way shit goes around here. People walk through my door, they say, I want to go to school for free, and I go, I can do that. You do some push-ups and work, we can do the whole free school thing 30 times over or whatever. Just don't fucking cheat. So, yeah, that's not really the point, but it is now because this is my show and I can do whatever the fuck I want. So have yourself a good day, and we'll be back tomorrow. And I don't know who the guest is tomorrow, so just deal with it. Goodbye.